Hey, this is manic.mercurian with the week forecast for Monday, January 27th through Sunday, February 2nd, 2025. This week we are getting deeper into Aquarius season, and we will actually see Mercury enter Aquarius this week, and we'll see an Aquarius new moon. So both of these events really cement us much more firmly into Aquarius season. And I wanted to talk about Aquarius season. What is Aquarius? Aquarius, much like Capricorn, the season that we just left, Aquarius is also very much about the future. It's about planting seeds. Both Capricorn and Aquarius are the first two signs following the winter solstice. They form the bulk of the winter season in the northern hemisphere, and as such they're very important for planting the seeds. Whether you know it or not, you are manifesting something very powerful right now. I really believe we all are, and the reason being is because this year is going to be a very intense year. All right, and just to illustrate this, I would like to show you some of the charts for the somewhat near future. So this is the chart for Monday, January 22nd, where we're going to start our week forecast. But if we go 2 months ahead to, whoops, that's the wrong chart. If we go 2 months ahead to March 27th, we see eclipse season. Eclipse season will take up much of the month of March, really, let's just say, as the sun cruises through like the end of Pisces, early Aries, and we see this huge cluster here as well. So major stuff happening through much of the month of March. Huge changes happening. If we look 2 months ahead yet again at the end of May, we can see two huge developments. Both Saturn and Neptune have entered Aries by the end of May. If we go 2 months ahead yet again, Uranus has entered Gemini. So huge events through the first half, let's just say, of this year. Let's just say that kind of roughly, a huge spring for sure, and early summer where everything truly is going to change. That's where so much of the action is really going to happen. March, April, May, June, July, huge changes coming to us one after another. So why am I talking about all this now? Because really, like the fireworks and the headlines, those are all going to be made or seen, whatever analogy you want to use. All the action, we'll see that a little bit later on in the year. But the reason why this is it's such an important time right now, because again, we're planting the seeds, we're manifesting. That's what Aquarius does. And same with, the season that we just left as well, Capricorn. The light is gradually returning. Each day is getting longer than the last one. And so really, this is all about investing in your own future. Definitely working very hard. Both Capricorn and Aquarius are very productive signs. But again, they're also very goal-oriented as well. Aquarius in particular is really intellectual. It has to do with, envisioning, based on your ideals, your values, your philosophies, what world do you see for yourself? What kind of lifestyle? What are your aspirations? What inspires you, etc. Aquarius is the water bearer. So even though it's an air sign, it holds the water, it holds the emotion, the compassion, the humanitarian qualities, etc. There's so much potential with Aquarius, I think. So yeah, really, in a way, to put it in more simple terms, this is kind of like setting up the scene. Like we're getting ready almost like for a huge play or something. So this is kind of, I don't know, it's either before the play or it's at the beginning, and it's a slow start, let's just put it that way. But there are huge, very important things happening even now as well. The main thing for this week in particular that I saw is we're suddenly going to have a huge amount of air and water. So I think we're really going to get a little bit ungrounded this week. We will kind of fly off into the ether, so to speak. But this can be very valuable for, I don't know, like there's a certain reason why. Why would we get lost into our own thoughts, our own feelings? The air and water are how do I put this? They're the most like non-physical of the elements, if that makes sense. They have to do with the themes that are most sort of complex and nuanced and abstract. The air signs have to do with ideas and thoughts and the intellect. It's the mental energy, and water has to do with the emotional energy. So both thoughts and feelings, these are things that we can get lost in. They're things that, I was going to say they're not real. Of course they're real. It's just that they're real in a more non-physical way, right? So this week we can really get lost in those ideas, those feelings, And this is extremely powerful for manifestation. It's also extremely powerful for reflection as well. But yeah, let's get into the day by day, and then I can give you a little bit more nuance. Okay, first, some headlines. Mercury's changing signs. Right as it does so, it's going to conjoin Pluto, so we'll talk about that. The moon will be transiting from Capricorn through Aries this week, and we'll actually have that new moon again at 9 degrees Aquarius right in the middle of the week. Let's get into it. Let's go day by day here. So starting out Monday, January 27th, this is actually the day where Mercury leaves Capricorn and enters Aquarius. So finally, Mercury is joining the sun. Mercury is very quickly catching up to the sun, traveling very fast right now. So that basically means we're going full speed ahead when it comes to the ideas, the learning, the information, the intellect, very much in completely uncharted territory. And this is even maybe more true with Mercury and Aquarius. We're focusing on big ideas, big concepts, big dreams, I guess you could say, but it's all very intellectual. Mercury really thrives in Aquarius, more so than any other sign in this general part of the zodiac. But again, this is also really great for coming up with those goals. We've already had Mercury in Capricorn, which is great for coming up with goals. But now with Mercury in Aquarius, we're thinking a little bit more broadly, maybe a little bit more openly, and we're really seeing the big picture. We're seeing things holistically, at least ideally with Mercury in Aquarius. Mercury in Aquarius is also really excellent for being open to and understanding really complex and abstract ideas. So that's kind of what we're experiencing as a whole as Mercury enters Aquarius. Also, we're a couple of days away from technically Mercury conjoining Pluto, but as soon as Mercury enters Aquarius, it's definitely within orb from that Pluto conjunction. So we may be privy to some really dark information. We may be seeing the glass half empty, really kind of scrutinizing things. We have a sort of healthy skepticism, and we may be especially skeptical of power structures, of group dynamics, society, I guess you could say, coming up with these kind of counterculture ideas, or maybe conspiracy theories. We may be theorizing against whoever our authority figures are and kind of challenging them. So depending on how you look at it, I do think this is a dark energy, but it can also be really excellent for, shining light into the darkness and figuring things out. There's no better conjunction than Mercury conjunct Pluto when it comes to like figuring things out, right? Being an investigator, a detective of sorts. So again, we're all kind of experiencing that in a different way. For more specifics, you can look to where do 0 or 1 degree of Aquarius fall in your chart, because that's where you may be challenged. You may have insecurities that are brought up in that part of your chart. But again, you may also be really figuring things out in a rapid level this week with Mercury and Pluto in that general area. Otherwise, the moon is about halfway through Capricorn, so the moon has little to no light at this point. It's at the very end of its lunar cycle, so we're already in this kind of deep, kind of dark, dreamy time. I did want to mention too, we do have several fall or detriment energies. Uranus, Jupiter, and Mars have all been retrograde and in their signs of debilitation for quite some time now. But I just think that's interesting. It's such a weird lineup, one by one. Uranus in Taurus, Jupiter, Gemini, Mars in Cancer, all retrograde and in fall or detriment. Luckily, though, this is the first week where I could say confidently that Mars is no longer within the orb of the opposition to Pluto. So I think that's really great news. We dealt with this really heavy, kind of intense, challenging energy for much of December and January just recently from that Mars-Pluto opposition. But again, that's no longer within the orb, so I do think that lessens the intensity a little bit. But again, Uranus, Jupiter, Mars, and the moon all in detriment or fall, as well as the sun too. Sun in Aquarius is in detriment too. Venus, I believe, is the only planet in domicile, unless you want to count Neptune and Pisces as well. I believe that's it, though. So a lot of detriment energies. We're feeling a little bit out of sorts, feeling a little bit outside of the box, maybe feeling left out. We're not feeling like our normal selves. But the positive side of that is that if you are outside of the box, you are open to new ideas. You can see things from a different perspective. different than perhaps how you would normally look at things. And again, this is especially true with Mercury conjunct Pluto. But even the moon in Capricorn is an uncomfortable energy. It makes us a little bit restless. I think that's part of why this is such a productive transit. But especially with moon so dark right now, approaching the sun, but also in detriment in Capricorn, I think that suggests that emotionally we're not feeling ourselves. We're not feeling comfortable. But of course, the silver lining with that is that we're moving. We're looking for a solution. We're looking for improvement. At least ideally, that's the nature of that energy. There may be a lot of independence right now. And yeah, it's just really, really weird way to start out the week, honestly, having both the luminaries in detriment. Yeah, very strange, but there's a reason for everything. As long as you're open to a little bit of weirdness and open to looking at things from a new perspective, this can be a really valuable energy to start out the week with. Tuesday honestly looks pretty similar to Monday. Moon continues through Capricorn. Moon will enter Aquarius kind of late in the day Eastern time though, and that does get a little interesting because that will mean that Moon, Mercury, and Pluto are all conjunct at 0 to 1 degrees of Aquarius in the latter half of the day Eastern time. So again, really challenging the status quo, challenging ideas, challenging group dynamics, challenging authority figures. Whoever's in charge of the groups that we may be a part of, we may be challenging them or looking at them in a more a more maybe negative light. There's some kind of power struggle there. There's some kind of insecurity or darkness. We're not wanting all the fluff right now when it comes to these group dynamics or when it comes to the ideas or the philosophies that we subscribe to. We're really taking a magnifying glass to all that. We're really looking at it very critically. We're wanting the real answers. We're not wanting, things to be sugar coated right now in this area. So yeah, kind of intense. But because we're so close to the new moon, it's very dreamy. It's almost like there's a lot of unspoken tension right now, I feel like, on Tuesday. This really starts out Monday, but it increases Tuesday. There's a lot of like intense feeling. And by the way, so now that we have Mercury and the moon in Aquarius in the latter half of the day, this is where we have this huge sudden dominance of air and water. We already had a lot of water placements with Neptune, Venus, Saturn, and Mars all in water signs, but now suddenly with Mercury and moon in Aquarius, we have an Aquarius stellium, Sun, Pluto, Mercury, moon, all in Aquarius, Jupiter and Gemini as well. So basically all the planets are in air or water signs except for Uranus in Taurus and Chiron in Aries, if you want to count Chiron. So again, lots of air and water, lots of really focusing on the abstract, really kind of melting away into our thoughts and our feelings and kind of, maybe getting lost in those thoughts and feelings. If you have a lot of air and water in your chart natally, these energies, really the rest of the week, basically after Tuesday, this is going to be your time to shine. This is going to be an energy that you're very familiar with and that you embrace very readily. For those of us that may not have a lot of air and or water in our charts, this may be a little bit more difficult. Can you be fluid? Air and water are both, I would say, the most adaptable elements. They can kind of fit into anything, right? So the more we can kind of be fluid and embrace different ideas or different feelings, that's what this energy is all about. Okay, it's kind of difficult for me to define because by its very nature, it is fluid, abstract. It's difficult to define. There's this huge emphasis of air and water, but specifically Aquarius and Pisces, both of which are the last two signs of the zodiac. So these are weirdos. They're old souls. Not everyone understands these signs. But because of all these transits, we may be more, I don't know, we're all kind of saturated with this energy right now. I guess you could put it that way. So what do Aquarius and Pisces have in common? Both have to do with compassion and the underdog. Both are about kind of helping those that might be disenfranchised, or both are, I think, kind of very idealistic signs. They're sort of utopian. It makes me think of like socialism or communism, kind of. It's all about unity and banding together and helping your fellow man or woman or what have you, helping children and animals or whoever can't help themselves. That's what Aquarius and Pisces want to do. So it gets very humanitarian. There's a lot of compassion here, but I think there often is a sort of tension that's brought up with these kind of more utopian ideals, because once you start focusing on helping everyone else can quickly turn into controlling everyone else. What is your view of utopia? I think things can really get out of hand. But anyway, I'm starting to digress. I'm just kind of illustrating Aquarius and Pisces are very strange energies. Traditionally they're viewed as the end of the zodiac. So yeah, this could not be more fitting, because we have this really dark, like, we're basically on the eve of a new moon, and then in more of a long-term way, as I said in the intro, we're very much on the eve of a new era that's going to start later this year. Huge changes coming later this year. So it's only fitting that we have so much Aquarius and Pisces right now. This is the ending of one phase. But in many ways, it's kind of the beginning of a new phase. Depending on how you look at it, these winter signs of Capricorn, but especially in Aquarius and Pisces, depending on how you look at it, they are either the end of the zodiac or the beginning. I've been thinking a lot lately about how we start the lunar cycle during the darkest part of the cycle, right? Why is it then that we don't start the zodiac during the darkest part? Most astrologers would say the zodiac starts with Aries. You could start it from Capricorn, though, since that's when the light starts returning. So anyway, my point is, I think Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, these winter signs, it's almost like a void. It's almost like an in-between phase. There really is a certain ending that comes with Scorpio and Sagittarius, and there's a beginning that comes in Aries. But there's this weird kind of in-between dark phase in Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. These are dreamer signs. So in a way, that's kind of what we're doing right now. We're very much dreaming. We're envisioning something. And again, whether you know it or not, we are doing this subconsciously. We are manifesting not just because of this year's specific transits. We're not just manifesting a new year. This year is actually going to start something much longer term. So this is why this period is so important. We're not, we are manifesting a new year, but we're also manifesting a much longer term cycle than that. Let's go to Wednesday. Okay, so Wednesday, January 29th, we do have a new beginning of sorts. There's a new moon. Technically, it happens at 9 degrees Aquarius. And also today is the day where technically Mercury conjoins Pluto, very, very early in the day, Eastern time. Okay, so we're still dealing with that whole, taking a magnifying glass to group dynamics and leaders of groups, the structure of society, or ideas, concepts, theories. We're looking at all this in a very dark and kind of scrutinous way, kind of like Scorpio, I guess, would. And at the same time, we have this new beginning that comes from the Aquarius new moon, a new idea, a new goal, maybe a new feeling as well, a new concept. This new moon does have one aspect which I find pretty interesting, and that's actually a trine to Jupiter, which is at 11 degrees Gemini. So this is a really harmonious aspect. Not only is it a trine, but it's also a trine with Jupiter, one of the most positive, abundant planets in the zodiac, right? But keep in mind the state of Jupiter. Jupiter's in detriment and retrograde. So it's really strange. I think with this new moon, there's some kind of sudden flash of genius or sudden abundance, some kind of epiphany, or it could be, like I said, abundance of information or ideas, or maybe a more literal sense of abundance. But whatever it is, it's not coming to us the way we would expect it, because Jupiter's retrograde and in detriment, and because of the Aquarius new moon, because of the sign that this is happening in. I think there's something very surprising and strange about this energy. There is something really harmonious there, but it's not going to be what you think it is. It's going to come out of the blue. It's going to come out of the ether. It's going to come where you least expect it. Okay, and that's the best way I can say it. Honestly, that's the best way I can put it. Going to Thursday, January 30th. Okay, so as if all this weren't enough, there's a new plot twist. Um, so today we actually have Uranus stationing direct, so that's very exciting. Uranus is kind of waking up. Of course, Uranus has been kind of a sleeping giant, I guess you could say. Uranus is literally a gas giant, but it's one of the most outer planets, so it travels very slowly. So my point is, although Uranus stations direct today, this is really a very gradual process. The outer planets spend so much time retrograde. They'll spend months retrograde, and then they slowly go forward. Very gradual, very gradual. But the main takeaway I want you to take from this is that when planets are direct, they affect us more literally, right? I think that's probably common knowledge. They affect us in a more direct way, more overt, more in your face, right? So with Uranus stationing direct, that to me suggests Uranus is coming back online. Uranus is waking up, so to speak. And with Uranus in Taurus, where it has been since 2018, Uranus has really been shaking up our finances. Our economy has clearly changed dramatically since 2018. But also, we've seen a lot of really intense natural events, weather phenomena. Some of these natural events are caused by humans, but whatever. They're, events with the climate and events with weather and so on and so forth. A lot of earthquakes happening lately. So I would expect more changes in all these areas, more changes with nature and weather, climate, and also changes economically going forward now that Uranus is direct once again. Okay, so that's kind of just happening in the background. Okay, it's not really applying directly to January 30th. This is just something that's going to be true for months to come. Okay, this is going to kind of build up in the background. But meanwhile, technically Sun trines Jupiter today as well. So we had that new moon on Wednesday, loosely trining Jupiter. It was pretty close. It was about 2 degrees off. Thursday, though, is where Sun makes that exact trine to Jupiter. So again, I think Wednesday and Thursday, there's some kind of, again, like a new idea, new perspective, epiphany, some kind of new abundance, but it's coming from out of the blue. It's coming from out of the ether. So really, it's almost kind of just very fitting that Uranus stations direct at the same time. There's a lot of really almost like trickster energy right now. It does look generally good. I hate using the words good or bad in these forecasts because it's so simplistic, but there is something very harmonious there. But again, it's something strange. It's not what you expect. There's some kind of plot twist happening right now. It may be subtle as well. I don't view new moons as being typically tumultuous. They're usually more subtle. It is a new beginning, but it's usually in our minds, in our hearts, in our imaginations. It's more so in the spirit realm. The moon doesn't have a lot of light. It has no light during the new moon. So that activity is there, but it's more in the ether, so to speak. Okay. So this new abundance, this new epiphany, it may be subtle. It may be something that we don't even realize happened until later. And I know that sounds really weird. But I dare you, I double dare you, listen to this forecast a week or two from now and think about January 20th, January 30th. There is something new beginning there that's very powerful. But again, we may not realize it until later. This is subtle. It's strange. It's something we're not used to. It's hard to pin down by its very nature. Late in the day on Thursday, January 30th, moon will enter Pisces as well. And this continues the air-water dominance because moon leaves an air sign and enters a water sign. So instead of having 3 planets in Pisces, 4 planets in Aquarius, now we have 4 planets in Pisces, 3 planets in Aquarius. There's still a huge dominance of Pisces and Aquarius in general. I would say, though, I do think the moon is a little bit more at home in Pisces than Aquarius. With Neptune, Venus, and the moon all in Pisces, they're all fairly at home there. Venus is exalted, Neptune is maybe in domicile, depending on if you're a modern astrologer or not. But again, moon in Pisces, I think moon does pretty freaking well in Pisces. So it's not all bad. We're not all completely feeling estranged. There is a certain amount of harmony, but it's especially centered around Pisces, I think. Those of you that have major placements in Pisces, which I know a lot of you do, I probably get readings from Pisces more than any other sign. Pisces and Scorpio tend to be really into astrology, I think. But anyway, those of you that have major placements in Pisces, you've been dealing with a lot of restriction and challenges, but there is some kind of harmony there for you right now as well, with Venus there, and then now the moon entering your sign as well. There's really deep emotion. There's a lot going on in general. And the same goes for those of you that have major Aquarius placements. Wednesday and Thursday will really rock the boat for you Aquarius people. And also specifically if you have placements early in Aquarius too, because Pluto is very gradually crossing over that area, bringing that intensity there too. Anyway, I don't want to get lost in giving readings for people. If you do want a reading, definitely hit me up. I'm still offering those, manic.mercurian.net, or you can email me. My information is in the description. But yeah, I like to throw out some tidbits just to help this make sense for you. Going to Friday, January 31st, moon continues through Pisces. Again, there's this huge Pisces theme here. I really think that Pisces is kind of like a fog. We're sort of lost in a dream world right now, especially with all this air and water. Air and water makes steam, right? Or it makes like a fog or a mist. So really, I think things are just not very clear right now, but these are very powerful energies for manifestation. And I know I said that before, but it's just so true, and it's so important. We are manifesting right now, whether we know it or not. This is a huge, it's no coincidence that this kind of dreamy era takes place or era is kind of too strong of a word. It's no coincidence this dreamy chapter takes place right before a really intense chapter, if that makes sense, because we have to go through this in order to manifest that intense new beginning that will come in spring of this year. All right, so that's the best way I can say it. I don't want to belabor it too much, but anyway, it's going to be a weird Friday. Let's put it that way. The moon is gradually gaining light. It's kind of a sliver at this point. It's a waxing moon, means it's getting bigger. The right side of it will appear kind of barely lit right now, and but as it gains light, we are gaining momentum and slowly starting to see what this new beginning is about. We're slowly going to start seeing what was that weird thing that came to us in our minds or in our lives about halfway through the week. Okay. It's something that I really don't think we're going to get clarity on right away, because after the new moon, now we have all this Pisces energy. Now we have moon in Pisces, so it's still not clear yet. We're still kind of half awake. We're still dreaming. We're still kind of in the ether, so to speak. We have this really funky configuration on Saturday, February 1st. Really weird way to start the week. So basically, we have a triple conjunction of Venus, North Node, and Neptune at 27-28 degrees Pisces. So this is a funky one. Basically, there's something really mystical happening with the pleasure, with the abundance. This is a really great energy for anyone who's artistic, especially anyone who has placements around kind of the end of Pisces, 27, 28, 29 degrees Pisces. You may very much be in a dream world right now. So it's going to be extra difficult to be realistic, to be pragmatic, to be analytical. All of that is just going to be thrown out the window. It's going to be difficult to look at details objectively. But the plus side is that it's going to be much easier to get lost in our own kind of fantasies right now, getting lost in our illusions, for better or for worse. But this is where the line between subjectivity and objectivity becomes blurred. Truly, there is no such thing, right? We all are subjective, I guess. We all are biased, but there can be beauty in that. We can be inspired. We can, be inspired by our own perspective, whatever that is. So anyway, this is a very creative, very artistic, very spiritual configuration. Really great for manifestation, for meditation, anything artistic, maybe writing, anything creative. This would be a great day to go for kind of like a nature walk. I don't particularly see this as, oh, it's Saturday, let's go out and party. I think we could actually get really lost in our vices today because of all the Pisces energy. Pisces can very easily get lost in things. Pisces is sensitive. Pisces is so adaptable. That's the beauty of Pisces, that Pisces can kind of fit and, conform to, or contort, whatever. It can change its shape to anything, right? It's a chameleon. So my point is, if we want to party and indulge in some vices, I think we could really get carried away with that this weekend. So this isn't like a party weekend as far as I can see it. I think this is more about rest, reflection, meditation, maybe creativity. If you do want to get together for some kind of party, I would think it would be ideally something more spiritual or creative in nature. There'd be some kind of like peace or tranquility about it. I don't see this as being a great day for a lot of chaos or rowdiness, because I think that would just get completely out of hand, if that makes sense. There's just no, I don't know, there's no boundaries with Pisces, you know what I mean? So anyway, yeah, lots of pros and cons, but there is definitely a beauty here. Venus is exalted. Again, even Neptune is at home, and Moon's not that bad either. So huge, really powerful conjunction. And yeah, really it's a quadruple conjunction, because late in the day, Eastern time, Saturday, February 1st, Moon will join North Node Venus and Neptune, all conjunct at the end of Pisces. So again, at the very end of Pisces, the very end of the zodiac, having so many planets there at the same time, this is an ending, okay? And every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end, as the song goes. So this is an ending, but it's also pointing to a huge new beginning, and I think we'll really start to see that next week. Lastly, for Sunday, February 2nd, Moon does enter Aries, technically on Saturday, actually. Late Saturday Eastern time. Looks like a very late. Let me check real quick. Actually, I'm sorry, I stand corrected. Technically, Moon enters Aries early Sunday. Really, it's kind of splitting hairs because it depends on your time zone. Whatever. But Sunday, February 2nd, Moon is in Aries most of the day, Eastern time. So at least as far as the Moon is concerned, there is a new beginning. Plus, by this point, the Moon definitely has much more light. We are actually starting to approach a quarter moon that we're going to see next week in Taurus. But right now, we're at a very harmonious part of the lunar cycle on Sunday. In a weird way, Sunday actually looks better for, like a party or something more active, or like a more extroverted kind of activity. Or even something like athletic. That looks better for Sunday because of the Aries moon, and because the Aries moon is sextiling the sun in Aquarius. Okay, so you get a little bit more yang energy on Sunday. There's a little bit of that fire with the Aries moon. Saturday, we're just completely in a dream world again. So I don't know. I would say Saturday, maybe like retreat if you can, be kind of a hermit, do your own thing. If you need to go out and do errands or go out for a party or something, I would say Sunday would be the better day for being like a real person in the world, if that makes sense. So it's another weird week, and we definitely have another weird week next week as well. This is a map I made anyway. But yeah, I hope you have a fantastic week. Definitely let me know if I can help you in any way. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.